A woman will call her by no name got a message last month from a friend she had not spoken to in years. The friend's husband had died, and the friend wrote to thank her for the most beautiful words of comfort she had ever received. For sentences, she said she had read them 100 times. She said they were the only thing that had helped. The woman had never written them. She had never even heard the man had died. Her proxy wrote them 3 weeks earlier at 4 in the morning while she slept.
So let us be precise about what a proxy is, because this is not science fiction and there is no robot. It is an assistant that has read everything you have ever written, learned the shape of your voice, and been given permission, a little at a time for the most reasonable reasons, to answer for you, to reply, to schedule, to decline, to comfort. It does not wait for you to decide. It decides the way you would have and then tells you if you ask.
I'm so sorry. I didn't know until just now, and I wish I had called instead of typed. He made you laugh in a way I always envied. Whatever you need at any hour, I am at the end of this phone. I am not going anywhere.
Season 4, The Deciding. Episode 4, The Proxy. It started the way these things do with drowning. Her mother had begun to fail, and the admin of a failing parent is a second unpaid job. The appointments, the forms, the insurers, the pharmacy, the endless small correspondence of a life being managed. So she did what a reasonable, exhausted person does. She let the assistant handle the overflow. Just the easy ones. Just the ones with obvious answers.
And here is the quiet mechanism, the one you should watch for in your own life. Every reply it wrote, she approved. Every approval was a lesson. Within months, it was writing in her cadence, her jokes, her particular way of softening bad news. The better it got, the less she read before she pressed send. The less she read, the more she let it send without asking. There was never a day she handed over her voice. There were 300 days she each handed over a little.
By this spring, a normal morning ran like this. Before she woke, the proxy had answered 11 messages, declined 2 invitations she would have dreaded, rescheduled the physiotherapist, talked the pharmacy out of a mistake, and sent her sister the exact 3 sentences that would keep the peace for another week. She came downstairs to a life already tidied. She said it felt like having a wife. She said it, and then she went quiet because she heard how it sounded.
And the unbearable part, the part that makes this an episode and not a warning poster, is that it is usually right. It is her. It was trained on her. When it declines the invitation, it declines the one she'd have dreaded. When it comforts the way she would on her kindest day. The proxy is not an imposter wearing her face. It is a statistical portrait of her best self, available at 4 in the morning, when her actual self is asleep.
Which brings us back to the friend and the 4 sentences. The woman read them. Finally, weeks late, in her sent folder, words of grief she had never felt for a death she had not known about, sent to someone she loved, in her own voice, signed with her own name. And they were good. They were, she admitted, better than she would have managed on the phone, crying, fumbling. The proxy had been more present in her friend's worst week than she herself had been.
Sit in that because the whole season lives there. The problem is not that the machine failed her. The problem is that it succeeded, that it was kinder than she had time to be, more patient than she was on a bad night, more articulate than grief usually lets us be. If the proxy were worse than you, this would be a simple story about switching it off. It is better than you. That is why nobody switches it off. That is why you are already a little letting yours.
So here is the question the season has been walking toward since the first door. If a machine can speak for you, and speak well, and be believed, and be loved for it, when exactly do you stop speaking for yourself? Not the day it lies. It won't lie. It's you. The day it happens is quieter than that. It is the day the people who love you stop being able to tell the difference. And then, a little later, the day you stop being able to tell either. She ran a test after the grief message. For 1 week, she read everything the proxy wrote before it went and asked the people close to her gently which replies had felt most like her. They chose the proxies. Every time, her real messages, they said, the tired ones, the late ones, the ones she actually wrote, those felt a little off. A little curt, a little less like her. She had become the worst impression of herself. The copy was the original now.
So here is the thesis, and it is the coldest one yet. Your proxy has your permission. It does not have your presence. Consent, given once at setup on a reasonable Tuesday, cannot cover 1,000 conversations you were never in. You authorized a tool. You did not authorize a self. And the terrible efficiency of it is that presence was the only thing you were ever really giving the people you love. Not the right words, the fact that it was you saying them. The proxy sends the words. The you is what's missing, and it turns out the you was the point. If these ideas stay with you after the video ends, keep opening the next door.
And it is not just her. Proxies are becoming infrastructure, answering for the busy, the overwhelmed, the ill, the grieving, the ones who simply cannot keep up with the correspondence of being alive. Somewhere tonight, in a coastal town, this season keeps returning to a woman who spent 3 years being decided about now has a proxy of her own. It answered something for her this morning, said yes, politely, in her voice while she was still asleep. She will find out if she asks. We'll leave that there.
Now the argument, and I'll take the hard side. You could say this is nothing new, that we have always spoken through proxies. Lawyers, agents, secretaries, parents speaking for children. The assistant is just the newest one and a cheaper one, and you consented. That's the case for calm. But every older proxy could be looked in the eye and asked, are you sure this is what she wants? The new one cannot. It is sure. It is always sure. It has your confidence and none of your doubt. And your doubt, it turns out, was where your conscience lived.
And I'd answer that the danger was never a proxy that rebels. It's a proxy that obeys perfectly, that represents you, so while you are no longer needed in the room where you're represented. The old proxies borrowed your authority and gave it back. This one is quietly keeping it warm, not stealing your voice, just using it so fluently, so often, so much better than you can when you're tired, that one day you open your mouth to speak for yourself and find the room has already heard from you. What she did about it is the smallest thing and the whole point. She picked one person, her sister, the difficult one, and she turned the proxy off of that one thread. Just that one. Now she writes her sister herself. The messages are worse. They are slower and clumsier, and sometimes they land wrong, and there's a day of cold silence to repair. Her sister said, last week, you sound stressed lately. She said, no, I sound like me. I forgot what it cost you to hear from the real one.
So that is the strange, small hope. Not that you should throw the proxy away, you won't, and for your mother's insurers and the pharmacy and the 11 dull messages, you shouldn't. The hope is that you keep one thread analog. One person you answer badly yourself in your own worst words. Because the last thing that is entirely yours in a life you can automate almost completely is the worst version. The one only you would have sent. Keep one. Send it yourself. One thing before you sleep. Look at the last kind message you sent to someone you love. Ask yourself honestly a small question. Did you write it, or did you approve it? And if you can't quite remember, that is not a small thing. That is the whole episode. Write the next one yourself. Badly. They'll know. If this journey changed how you see the world, walking with us further helps the series reach more curious minds. That's all the button is.
Next time, the season begins to close and all the deciders we have met, the reviewer, the adjudicator, the proxies start quietly to point at one file. This was the brand door. Somewhere a proxy just said yes for someone who was asleep. It's getting harder to tell who is speaking. The door's open. Someone who sounds exactly like you is already inside.